Welcome to the Blind Loyalty Challenge. I am Amanda Cromhote from Truth Loyalty and the Blind Loyalty Trust. We interview world leaders in loyalty blindly. The challenge is about creating loyalty insight spontaneously and about a lot of fun. Simultaneously, it is about raising the awareness of the Blind Loyalty Trust, and 100% of the proceeds from my book, Blind Loyalty, 101 Loyalty Concepts Radically Simplified, go towards the trust. We hope you enjoy the Blind Loyalty Challenge. Today's Blind Loyalty Challenge connects Cape Town with Thailand. I'm very excited to introduce to everyone Dr. Kaveer Maharaj. And Kaveer and I have known each other for a very long time. He's a very well-known person in the loyalty industry, but we know each other. He is South African. He's a judge on the South African Loyalty Awards. He is the founder of Nudge Lab, and we've worked together for years, or he's actually got a pedigree across so many different industries. So I really have license to be able to ask him anything I want, really. Welcome, Kaveer.
Thank you, Amanda. Please be kind.
You're too much of a friend for me to be unkind, but to get a good
I know.
interview, let's see what we can unravel. So your
Fantastic.
first
Thank you so
question
much.
is my first question for you isn't actually set by me. It's set by Eva Baxi from Antovo AI Cloud. And the question is about AI. So she says AI data personalization. Are we really getting it right? What's your views on that?
Um, I think we really are in our early stages, but I think the sort of and what we've seen so far is this rapid adoption in terms of the way we use it. But I think we've just scraped the surface, and I think AI in itself as a tool or as a function or even as a, let's call it, technical implementation across loyalty specifically is really in its early stages. I think we're just scraping the surface in terms of what it can do. I think most loyalty programs are looking at it as a tool to enhance what they're doing currently. I think where we will be going is where AI starts to almost set the standard in terms of how we actually implement loyalty and how we design and how we execute on strategy. So I think that's the sort of blue ocean space. I don't particularly know where that's going to end up and how that's going to look, but obviously
Yeah.
super excited. My main thing is about how do we ensure that we keep the human side of it, and how do we make sure that bring in um, really the sort of deep psychology and human behavioral side of it to make sure that that's sitting as the foundational layer behind it. So really excited about where the tech can take us. But I think it's really is in its early phase. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of it being adopted, but I think it's still going to be something that
Yeah.
I think shows its face later on.
It's interesting you say it's in its early phase because I feel like for the last couple of years, that's all we talk about at conferences. But interestingly, Blind Loyalty, my book, was released in 2023, so now 3 years ago. And there's literally like half a page on AI. Imagine if I was to re-release it, how much
Wow.
more there would be. So the speed of this is so dramatic for all of us. And I think you're right, it definitely is. Whilst it doesn't feel in its early stages, it obviously is because there's so much unknown potential. Great. So my second question, you've already touched on consumer psychology and you've launched your own company, Nudge Lab. So I'm going to focus on consumer psychology. So chapter 99 of Blind Loyalty is exactly around consumer psychology, and I tag it, we are humans after all. So my question to you is talk us through how the nudge theory works for loyalty programs.
So actually, if you speak of the word nudge, it has different meanings to different, let's call it, scientific faculties. In a typical loyalty format, we think of it as something that influences a particular decision to move in a certain direction. So that's effectively what let's consider ourselves loyalty, but mechanics to change behavior. And the way we change that behavior is to sort of direct that behavior based on various things. We typically use incentives, we use, whatever your organization does. My view is that it's sort of our role to be able to understand our particular customer, what drives them, what are their motivations behind what they do, why they shop with us, and then design based on that in terms of how do we actually deliver value that then drives the behavior that we're hoping to see at the end, which is, typically we want them to stay with us. We want them to
Mm.
value us above our competitors. And that really is what we try to achieve. And nudging is really the, let's call it, how do we use the mechanics that we have to be able to direct that behavior in the particular way that we're hoping that we want customers to eventually portray to us or deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Super. And I think it's a wonderful name of your company. It really like lands so powerfully and yet it's just so on point. I love it. So congratulations on securing that and the naming of it. So my third question remains in consumer psychology, and I want to investigate your thoughts on thresholds in the rules in a loyalty program. So imagine like you can earn points, but you have to reach a threshold before you extract the value, or you have to spend X on a threshold, but mainly around points behavior. Do you think adding in a threshold drives a change of behavior, or is it too much of a hurdle that can create discomfort for the customer?
I think there's a place for thresholds. I think it definitely allows for the element, and I think there's two particular mechanics in behavioral science that uses that sort of mechanic, which is goal gradient. So you allow for someone to, you place the goals in front of someone and you allow them to try and reach them. And then there's the aspirational component around what those goals or thresholds, let's call it, portray to a customer or puts it on the table for the customer. So effectively, what you're showing them is here's the goal, and we hope that you reach it. Now, where we often find the difficulty, or where we see the difficulty, or where programs sometimes fail, is that either the ways to reach those goals are not clear, or they're not well communicated, or they're not simple enough for customers to understand. And that's where we fail to sort of deliver on those thresholds. So it's not really the thresholds, it's actually what comes before that that
Mm.
tends to fail in order to drive customer behavior towards that. So ultimately, we put the threshold in, or a tier, or a rule, or a goal, and we hope customers drive it. But then we don't communicate it, or those goals are just too difficult to attain because we expect, we think sometimes that, putting the goal in is going to naturally drive the behavior, but customers don't wake up in the morning thinking about us. So we got to make sure that we get them thinking about us, and we make it easy for them to engage. And sometimes, that's sort of where it works really well is, we call it sort of micro nudging in a sense, or micro goals. So make it really easy for them to sort of reach the first goal, and then you sort of train them along. And I use the word train, but you sort of educate
Yeah.
them and communicate them in such a way that you drive them to the next goal and so forth. And research has shown that we actually behave better in those sort of formats and those sort of structures. We do better, and if customers are doing better, then effectively the program's doing better as well. So I think there's a
Yeah.
place for thresholds, absolutely, in the way we deliver it. It forms part of gamification mechanics as well. And we know we like to play with those things, but at the same time, like if a game is too complicated, we tend to get bored, or we tend to get distracted. Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that it's interesting, it's fun, we engage with it. And the way to do it sometimes is just to slowly introduce complexity rather than right up front. And that's where I think it
Yeah.
will work much better.
Super. I love that. And I love the concept of micro nudging, just help customers in that first like achievement. We see in our annual white paper, the South African loyalty landscape, that one of the main reasons customers just disengage or don't use programs at all is because they just can't seem to feel that they're ever going to get to the first reward simply because they feel they don't spend enough. And
Exactly.
there's so many mechanics you can help them along the way.
Yeah. They tend to give
Super.
up before they even try. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's like doing your first ultra marathon. You give up at the 3K mark.
Yeah, I'm never going to try that. I'll leave that to you.
Never say never. If you're a friend of mine, Kaveer, there's a good chance I'll persuade you. So, all right. So, who would you like to see on the Blind Loyalty Challenge?
Yeah, I'd love to see a friend of mine and actually the incumbent of the role that I previously held at the Landmark Group on the loyalty program Shukran, which is Juan Garcia. He's again a good friend of mine. Love to see him on this. He's a fantastic uh, person and works really well in the loyalty space and data analytics. So I'd love to see him
Great.
here and see
Super.
you challenge him.
I always say the best advantage of me doing this is I get to meet amazing new individuals. So I'm looking forward to that. And then a question you'd like to ask somebody for me to ask them.
I think a big question I keep asking on different platforms, including LinkedIn, one I think is quite topical recently is obviously our name as the industry. We obviously call ourselves the loyalty industry, which I think is fitting. But I've always want to keep us and challenge ourselves, and to your very blind loyalty challenge itself. If we were not called the loyalty industry, what should we call ourselves?
Oh, I love it. You know what? I get asked so often, like, is this a rewards program or a loyalty program? And my response is, I don't care. Like, I don't
Yeah,
care what you call it. I don't care. Like, let's just help customers get a better experience with your brand and then
that's
ultimately
it.
stay with you for longer and hopefully spend more with you. But
That's it.
okay, great. Thank you, Kabir. I
Cool.
knew I'd absolutely love chatting to you, and thank you for taking part of the Blind Loyalty Challenge.
Appreciate it. Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Amanda.